Look at this child, Columbo. Look at this face. Is this the face of a killer? Do you honestly believe I could persuade this beautiful young creature to murder anyone?
People do all kinds of things for love, sir.
Nonsense. We're suspects because someone from your ordinary middle-class background believes that immoral people like Tina and I are capable of anything, including murder.
No. You're suspects because all the evidence indicates you're guilty.
Then why don't you arrest us?
Because I can't. I know you did it. But without a body, I can't prove it.
Hello, Columbo fans. This is Sean.
And Steve.
And we are here with the latest episode of the Columbo Confab podcast. And accidentally, in honor of Hugh Heffner, may he rest in peace, we are going to talk about Columbo Cries Wolf, starring Ian Buchanan as Hugh Hefner.
So I'm going to say the first 5 minutes warrant this video to be watched multiple times.
Maybe.
Well, you know, in slow motion. Maybe wear out the pause button a little. And for fans of the show, I'm actually in Austin with Sean this weekend.
In case you think we sound a little bit differently, we are here in the same room watching this as we record it. Anyway, I'm sorry. Was that too behind the curtain?
No.
Okay.
So, noted, I think, by a lot of people, but I think we should bring it up, is the intro to this song is She Drives Me Crazy by Fine Young Cannibals.
Oh, good. Okay. They must have spent a fortune on that. This is the only time in Columbo history that I can think of.
Oh, yeah?
Where they had something current playing.
Do you know this song was also featured in the film, the Richard Dreyfuss film, Tin Men?
Really?
Are you familiar with that movie?
Yeah, with him and Danny DeVito, where they sell aluminum?
Yep.
I did not know that. Why would it be in that movie? That movie's
don't know.
like set in the 50s.
Yeah, and I was looking it up while we were watching this together earlier today, and that film came out in like 85 or 86, I think.
Oh, so
I was wondering if this was part of maybe some kind of Universal bought the song for, for movies and TV, but no, completely different.
I wouldn't be surprised though if you're right. That makes sense.
I couldn't find who produced Tin Men, if that was Universal or not. I couldn't find that.
Well,
I think it may have been a Paramount.
It warrants some looking into because using that song must have cost a pretty penny, and that makes sense if they actually purchased it for like a real movie instead of a made-for-TV movie. That they would. That makes sense. However, fun note: there is another '90s movie with a very popular tune in the beginning, and we'll save that for later. But
okay,
it's actually not popular.
Would you subscribe to Bachelor's World?
I do not play for that team, so no, I would not subscribe to Bachelor's World. It actually looks awful.
Yeah. So obviously, Bachelor's World is supposed to be the mock-up of Playboy magazine, I'm assuming, since we're talking about Hugh Hefner.
Yeah, and I don't think it would be Hustler or
That's
Penthouse.
what I was wondering. If because there's Hustler, and then you have the Jugs, and the what are some of the other like lower class. I get the impression though that this magazine is not doing well, so it's kind of not on the same level as Playboy. I kind of see Playboy as the higher.
Yeah,
a higher magazine for men's magazines.
Well, also the thing is that of course they don't show the models during the photo shoots in this, but he basically is mostly photographing models in swimsuits and so on.
No, they're not swimsuits. Well, not when he's doing his private photo shoots.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, you're right.
So
what's the story here? Tell us the story, Steve.
So we've got a adult magazine owner. He owns 50% or 49%.
He owns 49%
of the magazine, and so the setup is, and the reason I call it a setup, I think if you haven't seen it already, you'll soon find out, is that he and his business partner, which is a character called Diana Hunter.
Yeah.
So they get into a little spat. I guess supposedly we're led to believe that she's in love with Sean. What's his last name? Homrig?
No, is it like Beckley or Berkeley or something along that line? I don't remember exactly.
They're all the same, all the Seans. And
yeah, because this is, at least he spells it right. I had to turn on the closed captioning to make sure. But yeah, they spelled his name properly, the Irish way.
Yeah,
S-C-A-N.
So Sean is flirting with Tina, his latest nymph model.
Uh-huh.
I like that, a nymph model. Mm-hmm. I would think I would never hear that word. There's a lot of words in this episode that I wouldn't think I would hear in a Columbo episode.
Trade hussy.
We thought that was something else, actually.
Well, yeah, I that's what I heard, trade hussy.
Yeah.
But so she tells him that I own 41 or 51% of the magazine. I'm gonna go sell my share to Sir William, this English businessman.
Yeah, he's like a media mongrel or something.
A media mongrel.
Mongrel? Did I say mongrel? Mongol.
Mogul.
Thank you.
Demon booze, ladies and gentlemen. No,
he is a mongrel too.
Yeah, well, So he is not pleased at this news, and so she is about to take a flight to London, and when her chauffeur stops off at the restaurant to get some smoked salmon, Scottish, not domestic.
Imported, isn't it?
I guess. It's Scottish,
and
not domestic.
paper thin.
Yeah, and paper thin. There's a gunshot heard. He returns, drives her to the airport. She gets on a plane, and she disappears. And the question is, obviously, we have Sean, who has an excellent motive, and a girlfriend as well, who could have posed as her. Actually, it's almost like the very first episode, which is Prescription Murder, where they replace the dead lady with another lady who's acting as her.
Yeah.
And Columbo gets in the case, and
yeah, that's what he assumes. Now, one of the earliest clues, and probably the only clue for the whole episode that you need to pay attention to, are these gold bracelets that Sean and Diana wear. They're custom made. They're little beepers for those that haven't been born prior to the 90s.
Yeah.
So you could call in and text somebody with the phone pad and send them a message or a phone call so they would call you back. Nothing like smartphones today, which is
back then in the 80s, it was mostly drug dealers who used papers.
Drug dealers, yeah.
That's what we thought.
And people who own skin rags.
Yeah.
So that's the only clue that you have to pay attention to. I thought. I don't know how you feel about this, Sean, because we watched it together, but we didn't discuss it. So I'm writing my notes. You're writing your notes. I'm sure on different things here, but to me, this is the only thing you need to pay attention to.
Well, that's pretty much true, because as soon as Columbo... Oh, by the way, fun fact here. The reason Columbo shows up is because he says that he got a call from his friend Superintendent Dirk of Scotland Yard.
Yeah. Was that from the British or the English episode? Yep. It is the same character?
Yeah, it's the same character.
I was curious.
Yep. I can't remember the actor's name, but he plays Dr. Bombay on Bewitched. So he's actually in Columbo, the old Columbo, a couple times. He's dead now. He just died a couple years ago.
Yes.
But, so yeah, that's a throwback to the 70s. And he's on this like wildfire, Columbo is. He knows that there's been a murder just like that. Like, he knows instantly. And I felt very, very insecure watching this with you, because if I was watching it for the first time, not knowing how it ends, I would be very disappointed in this.
We'll get there.
Because
we'll talk about that, surely.
Right. Okay.
So, I pretty much fell in love with this episode the first 30 seconds of it beginning. Gotta admit, that's probably got a lot to do with the women prancing around in bikinis and throwing their legs in the air and stuff like that.
No, there's a lot of
but
that.
there was one scene that turned me sour almost instantaneously. It was the hip hop version of Knick Knack Paddywhack. Give a dog a bone. Who came up with that? And when did that become Columbo's theme song?
Oh, I know the answer to that. That became.
I know
back
he
in
whistles
the
it.
70s.
Well, he whistles it all the time.
Yeah, the first episode he whistles it in is Any Old Port in a Storm. That's the first time we see him whistling it, and it's when he's dialing a phone to call the dead man's fiancée.
Well, I thought that was absolutely horrible. I hated it, and they played it multiple times, and every time they played it, it pulled me out of the plot.
And it's as if somebody was asked, "Could you make the most dated late '80s, early '90s TV movie you possibly can?" And that's what they add. I agree. I think that as well.
There was a lot of false clues, and again, we'll go over why they're false clues later, towards the end.
Which is a pity, because I love clues.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Who doesn't? But there seemed to be a reason behind all the llamas and the alpacas that were in the yard of this mansion, of this Playboy mansion. Like, they point that out. Like, Columbo asks about the llamas. At one point, I thought, when they were going to look for the body for Diana, that they fed her to the llamas. I thought that's what they were going to have to look in llama poo and find her DNA.
I didn't realize it until later, but at one point you realize that there are reindeer out there, and they just chain these poor animals to the ground, like they're there, as lawn ornaments or something. I'm like, I don't think that this is legal. If you have a llama and you've got 5.5 acres.
Why the fuck would you want a llama?
I don't know. I don't know.
Like, drug dealers have tigers and lions and shit. Why would you want a llama?
It reminds me of Napoleon Dynamite.
Right.
Come, Tina, you fat lard.
Yeah. Well, Tina is in this. So when Columbo shows up on the scene, as like I said, at the request of
Superintendent
Dirk. Uh-huh. He's on the case pretty quick in this one, which I kind of like. I like a quick setup to the murder, and I don't like waiting 30 minutes. I like a good maybe 10 minutes into the episode, and they get to it right away. But Columbo interviews both Sean and the driver. But it seems that the person that's really kind of helping Columbo out is the secretary to Diana. She ends up giving Columbo a tape because she overheard the two arguing and how she was going to sell, and but under the impression that that there was a legitimate reason for for Sean to kill her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, did it bother? Okay, so I've got to ask you this. Like I said, I've watched this multiple times. It's been years and years since I really sat down and watched it, though. I watched it when it first aired on TV. Yeah. As a kid, being a Columbo fan and all, and I hated it.
Really?
Part of the reason is because there's a crime supposedly committed, and they don't show how it's done, which is outside the Columbo format. Okay, and then of course we discover, spoiler, and if you're listening to this, you must be a fan of Columbo to see this, but it turns out there's no murder at all until the last 15 minutes of the thing, or even 10 minutes of the thing. I hated that element. I didn't like being kept in the dark about how the murder was committed. Like we usually would get to see the Diane get shot and see somebody, or presumably Tina, the girlfriend, put on the clothes and all that. We get to see the whole process. Here we do not. Okay, so
yeah, you kind of left it in a mystery. No, there were some other Columbo ones. What was the one with the twins?
Double Shock with Martin Landau.
Yeah. So you weren't real sure. You knew one of the twins committed the murder, but you didn't. You figured which. You weren't sure which one. Mm-hmm. So in a way, you didn't know who the murderer was. Like this one, you weren't real sure of the crime itself because you didn't witness it.
But you're sure that he's the murderer. That
Sean is
he's
the
behind
murderer.
it. Yeah, Sean is the murderer.
Yeah. He's an accomplice, or he hired an accomplice.
Because we see him get on the phone and talk to somebody and say, like make it quick, or in the alley it should take 2 minutes, something to that effect. So we know that he's in on something here.
He knows about it.
Yeah. So.
And I kept thinking early in the episode, why didn't Sean just... He's a man of wealth. Obviously, he gets around. He could probably arrange for somebody to kill. And I found that odd. Why would he risk any kind of involvement of a murder? Why couldn't he just hire a hitman overseas and he'd be completely clean of it, of the case? I would think. Well, there might be some initial suspicion, but I think that would have been easier for him in the end.
Well,
so like here, we're watching now. Columbo is looking at llamas, and now he's looking at butt cheeks. Nice.
Okay. Oh yeah, we should mention this. There are many scenes, and quite hilarious scenes.
Another llama.
Where where we have Columbo in situations with these girls where he seems kind of embarrassed or flushed, or I think that's hilarious. However, I know I've said it before in this podcast. I don't like my Columbo to, be interested in sex. I know that, he's a grown man. He can do whatever he likes.
Well, they're all definitely healthy.
Yeah.
And wasn't Peter Falk into drawing nudes?
Yes. In fact, supposedly, later on he did draw nudes. But on Columbo in the 70s, he would, on breaks, he would draw pictures of the extras. Not the main actors and actresses, but the extras. He was really interested in the extras.
Nude?
No, not nude.
Are you sure?
For sure. I don't think he got into doing nudes until later. But
I think this episode probably started that.
So this also has there's for the Columbo drinking game. He actually does this thing again where he walks in on a filming or a photo shoot. That's a thing. He's always walking in on some sort of photo shoot, which he does in this episode. Another
it shuts everything down.
Yeah. Another Columbo drinking game is I've noticed this is that every time we have someone washing a car, he's interviewing them, and I can think of exactly 3 episodes, including this one, where he interviews a chauffeur washing a car.
Did the chauffeur seem like he wasn't interested in helping Columbo? Like he was kind of annoyed?
I don't agree. I thought he was more into it. I thought he was a very helpful man.
I got the exact opposite. Wow.
Huh. I did think, however, watching this again, that at one point Columbo walks into the room and he mistakes the secretary for Diane Hunter.
Yeah, I thought that was a clue.
Yeah,
I thought that was setting her up as the killer.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I thought, well, maybe I'm remembering it wrong, and it's not Tina, but it's actually her. But...
Well, one of the things that Sean says early in the episode, again, I thought, I guess this does piss me off about these clues that don't go anywhere. So Sean says to Diana, I've always loved you. These women that I date, they remind me of you. There's aspects. One has your lips. One has your hips. Whatever. One's got your droopy boobs. But he dates these other women that remind him of Diana. And you're thinking, okay, so he's setting up. Tina looks... He even says, Tina has your lips. Okay, we see that play out where when Diana goes to the airport, or we don't know who's going to the airport and leaving to London to meet Sir Henry, we just see her lower face. Mm-hmm. And so you're led to believe, that was Tina in glasses and heavy, headgear. Mm-hmm. So you couldn't quite make out who that was. But anyways, that brings up Sir Henry. So Sir Henry...
You're right. I said Sir William initially, but it's Sir Henry.
So Sir Henry wants to buy the controlling stock in this skin rag. And so he's going to buy out Diana's 51%. So he's got a vested interest to make sure that this case gets picked up and gets solved immediately. And so there's a scene where Columbo drives onto the Playboy Mansion. I know it's not really called that, but we're going to call it for the sake of this podcast. He gets a helicopter lands on the premises, and it's Sir Henry's private helicopter.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wrote a note about this because he climbs into the helicopter, and the helicopter delivers him to Sir Henry. And Columbo is terribly afraid of heights.
Is he?
Yeah, that's been in a couple episodes. And
I didn't get that at all.
Continuity F, because he's not afraid of heights in this episode, yet he's riding in a helicopter. No, he's terrified of heights. We haven't done any episodes where we see him terrified, but it's not a put on. He actually is terrified. But it's so interesting because when he goes to see Sir Henry basically lays out the entire motive that Sean has for killing Diane.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just sort of... Everything is just handed to Columbo.
Yeah, because Columbo even says to Sir Henry, it's all circumstantial. There's no firm facts. I can't do anything. I'm going off of, these speculations. And Sir Henry, points him in, this is what you need. This is where you need to go. So it kind of steers Columbo. Unfortunately, to the dismay we find later, poor Columbo. I really feel sorry for him.
We'll get to that. Can we talk about the Sean character, our murderer? Because
yes.
Let's put aside the fact that when he smiles, he looks like the Joker.
I thought he looked like his smile looks like James Franco. I think he might be secretly James Franco might be his love child.
I have never heard of this guy before, Ian Buchanan. But apparently he's a big soap star. Yeah. I did watch a clip of Family Feud that he starred on when he was older. But of course he's older now. But he used to be a fashion model apparently, and I guess I could see that. He's got the slim build and the devilishly handsome face. But one of the things I did not like about this episode is that the character of Sean is not really fleshed out that well. Okay. He acts like a dick, but I feel like we're not really. How can I explain this? He's okay.
A douche.
He's kind of douchey, but it's almost like it's organic douchey. If he owns half of a publication like this, you'd expect him to be that way, and he just totally fulfills my expectations of what somebody like that would be like. However, he never gets annoyed at Columbo for good reason.
No, he's always smiling.
He's always smiling, which it does not make for good Columbo. But of course, we find out later on there's good reason for that.
Yeah,
because the more Columbo harasses him, and the more
he's entertained by
he persists about this murder, the more likely it is that he's going to boost magazine sales with a story of a murder. So I did not like that. However, by the end, you understand totally why he's acting like that. So I did not really get... I always enjoy getting into the character of the murderer and really, thinking about what they're like, what their background is. Here, I didn't get that. And I felt like as if that aspect of the episode was sacrificed so that we can get this, oh my gosh, clutch the pearls twist ending. So...
we find out later why Sean seems to be so nonchalant about all these clues that lead to him being the murderer, at least involved in the murder. He doesn't seem overly concerned about Columbo blaming him. And he's even steering Columbo, which we find out later, in the correct direction. He's telling Columbo, I had nothing to do with it. I'm telling you, she's gone away on one of her mad vacations that she does this all the time. And so he's telling him the truth, which we're assuming at the time is he's just making shit up. Even though everything he says makes sense in a way.
Well, let me ask you this, because you obviously hadn't seen this before. 20-something minutes into the thing, Columbo figures it out.
Yeah.
He figures out the whole thing that somebody must have been hiding in the limo, shot her, and then replaced her and put the body, hid the body. I mean, he's got it down pat. He's got everything except for proof. 20-something minutes.
Well, he even tells Sean and Tina, the girlfriend, that I know you did it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to prove it. I just haven't figured out how you've done it yet. But you're guilty.
So watching this for the first time, and not knowing, obviously, what the payoff would be, did you find that interesting? Did it make for bad Columbo, the fact that he had it all figured out in 20-something minutes?
No, it confused me because, when I watch these, I don't really watch the time. And so when Columbo will bring that brown paper bag with the clues, that's usually my indicator this episode is about to wrap up. And I'm usually surprised because I'm so enthralled in the episode. I'm like, wow, they didn't feel like an hour and a half. But I was confused because he wrapped it up so quickly, and I'm thinking to myself, has an hour and a half passed? I wasn't sure. So that confused me a little. And I just assumed I was enjoying the episode more than usual, and time passed by quickly. But that was not the case, because we weren't even halfway through the episode, and he was solving the case.
Yeah. Did I just hear you say you enjoyed this?
Well, hold on. We're getting there.
This is a 90s episode now.
We're getting there. There's problems.
Okay.
There's problems.
Okay.
So one of the other clues that we find out is there's a bullet casing that's found for it's a .22 caliber. And Columbo figures out, oh, well, Sean has a gun collection, and one of them is a Beretta. It's a .22 caliber Beretta, and
boys' toys, as he
said. And he does see that it's been fired. He smells the gunpowder, or I don't know when you smell a gun, what that means. Is it like when we were kids and we had those little pop cap guns?
That's exactly what I imagine it would be.
Yeah, and how you just sniff the spent sulfur caps, whatever that odor was. Oh, I used to love that.
I used to like that too. They don't sell those anymore, do they?
I don't think so.
Those were cool. Do you remember the ones that they looked like a little tiny? They looked almost like a little tiny joint, and you would take them, you could throw them on the floor, and they would pop.
Those. Pop something.
They don't have those anymore, do they?
I've seen those somewhere.
Really?
Those smell good too.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, I'm sorry. Let's talk about He-Man or G.I. Joe. No.
So another clue is, I really don't want to call these clues. It's a setup the whole time. It's a stupid setup. Is that Diana takes her coffee black like her men, and sorry, airplane reference there, ladies and gentlemen. But that we find out that Columbo is looking at security video from LAX, and funny enough, this is pre 9/11. So interesting just to see how air flight was in the 90s before it became a complete waste and stupid.
Yeah.
Before
those assholes ruined it and killed 3,000 people.
Do you ever watch a podcast series called Adam Ruins It All?
Yes, I know of what you speak, yes.
Yeah, he did one on
the
airplanes.
NSA.
Yeah.
Very
interesting. Anyways. Interesting to see that he goes to airport security and watches how many hours?
He later says he watched about 40 tapes. And it later on, we have to talk about the mayor eventually. He tells it is the mayor, right? He tells the mayor, played by David Huddleston, oh yeah,
the Big
I sat through 40 hours. Oh yeah, and the mayor's kind of impressed and befuddled at the same time.
Because there's no Mrs. Columbo for him to go home to.
Okay.
She's
not mentioned in this episode.
Yeah, well, because, do you think Mrs. Columbo, if she was real, would approve of her husband hanging around the Playboy Mansion all day?
No, I don't think so.
Stalking Tina, who's amazingly beautiful.
No, I don't know.
Wearing her I Dream a Genie.
Amazingly beautiful for 1989, I suppose.
Yeah, she was from Kansas. From Kansas, I believe. I think I saw somewhere.
So you've done research on
her? On her.
We just watched it this morning. You've already done some research?
I've researched her. And she's only like 9 years older than me.
Really? Well,
there could be a chance. Yeah.
Oh, wow. All you need to do is move out to L.A., track her down, and not get a restraining order. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway. She looked like a porn star. No, she didn't.
Oh, she's too beautiful.
That bad. Yeah.
So, what do you think of the reenactment when Columbo goes and gets Sean and gets the driver, who I can't think of his name, to reenact the events of the night of the supposed murder?
That felt really displaced because I've never seen that before on Columbo. It wasn't quite as displacing as the dream sequences in Murder or Self-Portrait. Remember those? But it felt out of the... But it makes sense now why they put it in there, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, he's just following up. He's wanting to see... Normally, he wants to see how the killer reacts to him. See if he will give him, like, I just don't understand how that happened. Hopefully the killer will say, well, here's my theory. And that kind of sets them up to get to show what actually happened. Going on shopping sprees. When watching this, odd that I would think of Michael Jackson going on shopping sprees.
He would do that?
Yeah, with children.
Well, I was like, what do you... He says, oh, you got 2 minutes in the shopping spree. He tells them as they're on the escalator. So some of them are behind him, and he's not moving, so he should move his ass or wait until they get to the top of the escalator before he announces a shopping spree. And he only gives them 2 minutes. What can you buy in 2 minutes? Jack shit. I don't know what his rules were. Like, you can have whatever you get your hands on. I don't know.
Where would you go if you went to the mall? What store would you want to... What would you go to first?
Oh, I know how to answer this.
What?
Back when I was growing up, our local mall
KB
was
Toys.
no. We had one of those. It was the Harlem and Irving Plaza, which we called the hip Harlem and Irving Plaza. And they had a store in there called Gamers Paradise.
So it was like electronic or
no,
board
it was
games?
all board games and shit that is really popular now. But I suppose we have to get around. David Huddleston. I'm watching this. He plays the mayor. I see this guy and I'm like, I know this guy. I've seen him from somewhere. And then I had to look it up later on, and I found out that he plays the Big Lebowski in the Big Lebowski.
Right.
And he was also in Blazing Saddles. He just died about a year ago. He died. I think it was August of 2016. He looks like he's old in this.
Yeah.
He must have been, man, I don't know. But he looked like a walking heart attack. But that's horrible to say.
So all the scenes...
I know what you're going to say.
That had the photo shoots, I noticed at least one of the models, the one that was just on the screen there. They were all wearing the same swimsuits. So I think this was all recorded, at least these outdoor scenes, recorded in a single day. Because they're all wearing the same bathing suit in every...
And he takes pictures of the same 3 models over and over and over again. Did you notice that?
Yes, they're all very attractive. So what do you think of... Another fake clue was the secretary. Why do you think they included her? And they didn't include her on the on what Sean and Diana were really doing, but they wanted to include her on listening in on the conversation.
Yeah,
do you think
that
kind
was
of
all on purpose
to support the? I mean, she's kind of a goofball, and I felt kind of sorry for the driver too. Like they really tricked other employees.
Well, yeah, I felt sorry for her because there's a scene where Columbo goes and talks to her, and she's the one that gives him a tape, or I think she actually gives him a disc.
I thought it was a cassette tape.
I thought it was a floppy disk. By the way, only in Columbo do people in offices record their conversations. You're right, it's a cassette. But did you notice that there's another episode like that where they record all the phone conversations?
Yeah, which one was that?
It was Exercise and Fatality.
That's right, but they had the old reels.
Oh yeah. In this, they just used cassettes. But the way that her phone was set up, it was just a phone on the desk. How did she record it? That's impossible. There was no way. Anyway, I guess we're supposed to take it with a grain of salt. And this is, by the way, the scene where Columbo talks to her is probably literally the only time that we see Sean be a douche. Because he comes in and he says, oh, I've been beeping it for 5 minutes. What's going on? And Columbo says, well, that's my fault because I was talking to her, that type of thing. Like I said, we need more of Sean being a douche, says Sean. No, he wasn't douchey enough. Like, he needs to be more douchey. We have to hate him more. In the beginning, when we find out that she was going to sell her half of the company, I hated her. I would have killed her too. Not only is she going to financially ruin him, but she's also a real fucking bitch about it.
Well, she does let's get to that. So, let's fast forward towards the end. Well,
okay.
It's not even towards the end. I would say it's about 3/4 of the way through the episode. So we get to the big shock reveal. So Columbo feels that Sean and Tina have done something. They're responsible for the disappearance and murder of Diane Hunter.
And then her corpse must be on the grounds of the
somewhere,
estate.
right? Yeah. So he's got the whole LAPD digging up around the Playboy Mansion. It's causing a big media sensation, and we find out this is all planned because at one point, Columbo's talking to Sean, and Diana shows back up. Mm-hmm. She has been on vacation the whole time, and Columbo then deduces this was a setup the whole time.
And this is the part where
I got angry. I was pissed.
Why were you angry?
Because there's all these clues, and I'm writing in my notes these clues, and it was all for naught. It was the audience was tricked too. These Columbo episodes I like because you know who the murderer is, how it was done.
It's a formula.
Yeah, and then you've got to watch Columbo figure it out. And sometimes when Columbo puts clues together, it's kind of a leap of faith. You're not real sure how he got to that point where he figures how did a murderer, or how he got from point A to point B. But you just trust that Columbo's figured it out, and you watch him. And this whole time, everything, the llamas, the tire prints, the hairs in the limo, the bullet in the alleyway, everything. It's all lies.
Well, not the llamas. The llamas weren't lies.
Oh, okay. Well, those were clues.
What tire prints are you thinking of?
At the very beginning, when he drives through the mud. Oh, I'm thinking of another episode. Oh, never mind.
I'm sorry. Thank you for listening to the Senior Columbo podcast.
We watched another one last night. Sorry. But my point is that there are clues, full notes of clues here on my page that are now disregarded. There's nothing. It's all set up. It's all fake. There's no murder.
So I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna say it's revealed that he's been using Columbo this whole time to get publicity, to boost magazine sales.
Right.
How did that make you feel? I mean, let's put aside the fact that you've just wasted basically more than an hour of watching Columbo do Columbo things. How else did it make you feel?
About the characters doing that? Well, I thought it was pretty slimy, and I felt bad for Columbo.
I felt really bad for Columbo
because he was connecting the dots, and
he did a good job, and he actually says to him like,
you beat me.
Yeah, and he has a line where after it's revealed that she's still alive, he walks off and he's going to his car. He's walking off the estate and going to his car, and he says, "The end of a perfect day," which is a line from the Greenhouse Jungle that we did a few episodes ago.
I don't remember.
Jarvis Goodwin says that. The end of a perfect day after they push the car off the cliff, I think.
Oh, okay.
So
the Jag.
Yeah.
But no, that it really bothered me. Yes, the whole thing was a setup.
Well, do you feel like that wasted the whole episode? Did it ruin the whole episode for you? Besides
the pool scenes, yeah.
But then, of course, the real murder occurs.
Right.
Okay.
So it's like we did a reset, and now Columbo's got 20 minutes to solve the case. Mm-hmm. So it's like starting from square one, because Columbo now can't have the LAPD look for the body because now they've been embarrassed. Johnny Carson's has a joke about it on that episode that evening. All the press are making fun of the LAPD. Columbo's name is now ruined. Mm-hmm. That's what I felt really sorry for Columbo.
Yeah,
he had a spectacular career. They even say that earlier when he's talking to the mayor in that kind of impromptu bathroom meeting. He said, the captain says to the mayor, "This is our best guy on the job. This is the best one." And what he says, I believe. Mm.
Once we get to see Columbo get some credit for all the murders he solved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now Columbo's been brought up, and Columbo's probably enjoying that. And now he's been decimated by a stupid person. I've got other words, but family podcast.
Yeah, he's totally douchey by the end.
I mean Diana.
Diane. Oh, yeah.
So here's this guy that was concerned about her well-being, took time out. I'm sure spent hours and hours. I'm sure personal time where he wasn't with his fictional Mrs. Columbo, and
He wasn't with his dog either.
Or dog, and he spent his time trying to solve her murder, and she turns around and she laughs at him.
Yeah.
I hated her. So when she does die, when Sean actually does kill her, didn't really feel for her at that point.
Yeah, she was a terrible person. she was a total fucking bitch. She was worse in the screen time that she had. She was worse than Sean was. I think they could have.
Well, and she uses Sean.
Yeah.
We find out later. So she went along with Sean. I think this was Sean's idea for her to go missing, but she really was going to utilize the interest in the publication to boost her selling price to Sir Henry. Mm-hmm. So she was going to sell it for, I don't know, $1 million. I don't know what.
Probably more than that.
And now she's doubled. She doubled her price to Sir Henry because of the whole thing. And so she had every intention of selling, but Sean thought that was a ruse to kind of generate this missing person.
Yeah.
And so that she was horrible.
And so he kills her by snapping her neck, which I'm assuming that people can really die by that. I've never actually heard of somebody killing somebody like that.
I don't know.
I thought that was just in horror movies and stuff that people died like that. Or what's that movie with John Malkovich and Clint Eastwood where John Malkovich wants to kill the president? In The Line of Fire. There's a scene in that movie where there's a neck. Anyway, he snaps her neck and then I presume tells Tina to leave dressed as her. I don't know what he told her.
I Dream of Jeannie, yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to question her. He said...
She did. She had the cowl and everything. Yeah.
No, he said, you're not going to answer my questions. I really want you to answer, let's do it my way, but since you're not...
Oh, he was a dick to her, dude.
We're going to bring you in to the department and be formally interviewed. Mm-hmm. And Columbo has done that before when he suspects... I mentioned this when we watched it, that if he suspects an accomplice, and it's a female accomplice, he will go after that. In the very first episode, he does that.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's exactly what.
And he can be brutal to these. I think because he sees them as weak,
which is not a good thing, I suppose. But
yeah, but he goes after her, and so he gets her handcuffed, and he has it done publicly so that Sean will see it, and then Sean gets upset when he sees that, and that's of course when Diane returns. Well, let's move forward again to where the actual murder takes place. So Sean wraps her or puts her in one of those hanging
coat bags.
Yeah,
I don't know what you call that. Coat bag. It's I don't know.
Yeah. So he attempts. Now there's a scene where the chief of police is doing an interview in front of the press, and they're all laughing. Like the chief says, one of the reporters says something that's offensive or obnoxious to the chief, and the chief says, "What paper do you work for?" And the reporter goes, "Why, are you going to be looking for a job?"
Yeah,
So they're being wrung through the mud, and during that scene, we find out that Diane's gone missing again. Now, at this point, I would not have done anything. I would have been like, okay, whatever, she's gone missing. I don't care. Resources have been spent. Our department's been dragged through the mud. There's no point. I'm not following up with this. But they do. Mm-hmm. But the funny scene was when he says, whatever you do, don't tell Columbo. He is not allowed anywhere near this case. Mm-hmm. And as we transition to the next scene, we see Columbo speeding through the streets back to the mansion. He's got his ducks in a row. He's gonna get his revenge for being publicly embarrassed.
And he does get his revenge. It's interesting that you mentioned earlier that throughout most of this, Sean is smiling.
Yeah.
The only time that Sean is off his guard is when it's after he kills Diane.
Yes.
And Columbo is interviewing him in his bedroom, that he seems really off-put, and his attitude is completely different.
Yes.
When there's a real murder.
Yeah.
And that was good going. I don't know if that was the actor or if it was the script, but that was very well done, because it was done in such a way that the scene was almost tense. And you called it. You fucking called it. You noticed. You said, "Oh, the body's going to be in the wall." He put it in the wall. That's the only reason
why else
they have
did they
workmen.
show those construction guys?
Yeah, exactly.
But that meant that Sean knew some construction code or whatever. He had to put her in there.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't seem likely that he would know anything about drywall.
Right.
Yeah. So the body is in the wall, in the coat bag, and the way that Columbo finds out about it is that he uses the phone and pages her, and it goes off.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then it ends, and it turns out that he paged "gotcha" on the pager through the phone. By the way,
that.
I don't know how he did it, but okay. So, "gotcha" finds the dead body in the bag. Gotcha. End of story. End of episode. All right. So that's actually pretty effective. That ending.
I like the ending. Yes.
But there's no proof that Sean killed her. There's proof that she's dead, murdered, and put behind the wall. But how does he know that Sean killed her?
I'm thinking about that.
I mean, realistically, there couldn't be anybody else who did it.
It could have been one of the construction workers. That would make more sense.
Or it could have been one of the nymphs.
Yeah.
There's no linking Sean to that.
Well, I'm sure
point.
I'm sure Sean's fingerprints will be all over the body.
Well, his fingerprints are always all over her.
They're all over everybody's body in this episode.
It's like she's like his. Oh yeah, it's true. There really is no. Despite how satisfying the ending is, and almost cinematic.
It was very satisfying.
It doesn't. When you think about it after a while, it doesn't make sense. We don't know what happened after the credits rolled. Did Sean say, "Oh no, Columbo, you're all wrong"? Well, he didn't say anything because he's fictional. But no, Columbo, you're all wrong. Or I think that Sean probably got off. When I say got off, I think probably not guilty.
Yeah, it's one of those things
lawyer.
we've talked about in the past, and in off the podcast as well as how many of these cases do you think when they carry on to trial do they get off because the circumstance or the clues that Columbo uncovers, they're not really solid.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's review it.
Okay.
All right.
So
last time when we reviewed the Dean Stockwell one,
Dean Stockwell.
I can't think of the name. What was the game?
The Most Crucial Game.
Most Crucial Game. Someone requested that we take a more established rating instead of doing the crazy ass numbers I pull out of nowhere. So we did 1 to 10. Are we doing a 1 to 10, Sean, or should we do a crazy number?
We can do whatever you like. I say crazy number. You
want to do crazy number?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go ahead and rate this one out of 4,529.
4,529.
Okay, so what's your score out of 4,529?
Did you go first last time?
I don't remember.
Neither do I.
You go ahead.
Out of 4,529, I will give this a 3,851.
A 3,851.
Yeah, I actually like this more than I thought I would. I knew going into it that it was going to be a fake murder.
Yeah.
I was very uncomfortable watching it with you, however, because I thought that the clues came too quickly. And that you were thinking the whole time this is a terrible Columbo episode.
So when clues were popping up and you saw me whip out the pen and I started writing things into my notes, did you think, oh shit, he's spending too much time?
No, I didn't think anything. I'm like, oh good, he's taking notes.
And your notes are like not even a quarter of a page. I've got like a page and a half of notes, which are all useless now.
Well, I actually mostly enjoyed this. Columbo, it's obviously a formula. When it goes off the formula and does something new, it can either be really good or it can be really bad. And we haven't seen one where it goes off the formula before. Double Shock the one that you mentioned, that's actually a good example.
Yeah.
But the most prominent are like Last Salute to the Commodore.
Yeah, that's a good
another one where we don't see the murder. But this is a prime example of that where it goes off the formula.
I don't mind that.
I really liked the way that this was handled. I really liked the gimmick. And it is a very gimmicky. It is extremely gimmicky. My problem with it is that I think that gimmick forces the episode to sacrifice a lot of the stuff that we enjoy in other Columbos.
Yeah.
I've already mentioned twice already the fact that we don't learn that much about Sean, and that not that we learn much about him, but that he doesn't spend a lot of time, twirling mustaches and being a douche to Columbo. He's just,
Well, you find out the whole time he's telling Columbo the truth.
Yeah.
He's not lying. He's telling Columbo, I had nothing to do with it. Look, she sent a letter, just came in the mail. Probably was from her.
Yeah.
He's telling her I had nothing to do with it, and he seems to be amused by Columbo
the whole time.
Until the end.
The way he acts is completely different from other Columbo murderers, and then the reason becomes obvious later on. Of course, like I said, it's a little bit different at the end. Now, I will say that despite how much I like this, the fact that they tacked on a real murder at the end did bother me a little bit, because it's like this guy hatched this ingenious scheme to defraud everybody, and then he turns around and commits a real murder, and Columbo solves it in 20 minutes, or even less time than that. That was a little bit off-putting, despite how satisfying the end was. Because by then, Columbo really hated this guy. And this wasn't like...
Oh, it was personal.
It was personal. This wasn't like, Leonard Nimoy or Robert Conrad or Dick Van Dyke. This guy fucked him over really bad.
Well, and let's say Diana also...
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other episodes where the person who's murdered is not a very particularly nice person.
Oh, there's tons.
This was the first time that I legitimately hated an individual. Because it's weird. You go from feeling sorry for her, she's just wanting to get away from this creep douchebag. That's your assumption. And all she's just trying to boost up the price, and she makes a fool of Columbo in the process. Yeah. She laughs at him.
So that's my. But go ahead and give us your review.
So my initial.
I'm really curious. I think.
Okay.
Can I say something before you?
Yeah.
I think that you're going to say that this is the best '90s episode you've seen so far, at least for this podcast.
Okay. So
maybe not.
Obviously, I enjoyed the first 60 seconds of the episode, so I'm rating it the 4,529 instantly. I love, it's one of those things I'll just watch over and over and over on repeat. Just the first 60 seconds, of course. I'm enjoying the murder. I'm enjoying the plot. But as soon as Diana shows back up, I get really upset. Okay, I've been taking these notes. I'm paying attention. I'm looking at all the camera. Will spend more time on a certain clue or on an action like the llamas. Again, I seriously thought the llamas had something to do with the murder. I thought that they were going to find her remains in their shit or something like that.
So how do you think Columbo felt?
Yeah. So when she came back, I was very disenfranchised.
Disenfranchised, interesting.
Yeah, with the episode. Is that a right word?
That's okay.
I was upset. Columbo, I obviously enjoy him. We watched this show because of the character. Columbo was made a fool. I'm not happy about that. I felt like the episode was wasting my time, and then we finally see the murder, and I think, oh shit! So they hit the reset button, and now we're gonna start all over, and that really bothered me a lot. But the end when Sean got his comeuppance, it was very. It felt good.
Yeah.
It felt really, really good. So I'm gonna have to. So when Diana turned back up, my score dropped down maybe into the 3 digits. maybe 400. Like literally just 10% drop. I was very upset. But by the end, I'm going to raise it back up because it was a good episode. It was different, a different format. I do still feel like my time was wasted because you're trying to solve it with Columbo at this point. So I'll give it a 3,500. I think.
Okay, so we both agree about this. That is,
yeah, it was a good episode, and yeah, it's my favorite '90s episode that we've reviewed together. I've seen others that I like more, but this is a really good episode. I would be interesting to watch it again for a second time, knowing what I know now, because it's kind of odd that when you first watched it, did you feel like the show wasted your time? Because that's how I felt. I felt like I was being dragged along on a wild goose chase, and I felt like I was I felt like Columbo. Maybe that's why the ending felt so good.
Yeah,
because I felt like Columbo. I was tricked, and I wasn't mad at the character Sean. I was mad at the writers of this episode.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. I agree wholeheartedly. I think that I don't remember how I felt the first time I saw this. I think that I felt I didn't like it because of the reasons that I said. You don't get to see the murder acted out. It's 75% of it turns out is bullshit. But it's interesting because as a story, if you put Detective X in place of Columbo and made a TV movie about it, it wouldn't work so well.
Yeah.
But if you make it a Columbo episode and have this story in it, it works better because it's playing on your expectations. It's tricking you. And I think that for that, I applaud it. You said that you were so disappointed, but that's what it was supposed to do. That's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, I got invested into the story. Oh, I forgot. I'm going to change my score. I'm going to lower it by 100. So 3,400 because of the whole stupid Knick-Knack Paddywhack song. That made it drop another 100. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I changed my score to 3,004.
There is one thing I don't like about this as well, is that this story, this episode does not have a lot of Columbo-isms, for lack of a better word. He never mentions his wife. We see the car, but we don't see the dog.
Yeah. At this point, he knows. Yeah. Everybody knows there's no Mrs. Columbo. So he's not even saying it now. He's given up on that
Mrs.
story.
Columbo exists, but...
no, Kate McGrew is not Mrs. Columbo.
Anyway,
considering Mrs. Columbo, Kate McGrew was in her 30s, so that would have made her 12 when she married.
Anyway, okay. So.
Frank, I mean, it makes no sense.
So, when you say Frank, by the way, did you notice that when he shows this badge to the gatekeeper, it's his old picture from the 70s that's on the badge?
No, I didn't notice that.
Yeah. All right, so we actually have some feedback to read.
Oh, yay.
It's not technically feedbacks. Nobody emailed us, but it's what somebody left very kindly left on iTunes.
Nice.
And I left something out. I'm going to read two things that people wrote about us. One was from back maybe 3 weeks ago or so, and somebody named Mason Blue on iTunes left us a review. Are there too many Columbo podcasts? Nope. That's
I don't think there's hardly any.
Well, there's 3. Well,
is that including us?
We're the youngest. And they write, it's ironic that the Columbo Confab is the 3rd Columbo podcast I've come across, as it was a special April Fool's edition of the TARDIS Tavern, where Sean and Steve reviewed the Bye Bye Sky High IQ murder case that prompted me to seek out a podcast on the iconic detective in the first place. So far, this podcast is definitely not as stylized with regard to its format as its 2 predecessors, or the TARDIS Tavern. When they say the 2 predecessors, they mean the 2 other Columbo podcasts. As with the Columbo podcasts, one of the hosts is a longtime fan, while the other is a relative novitiate? Novice?
Novice?
It's novice, but Novit.
So which one's who?
Well, I'm the longtime fan. While you're the novice. Well, to the altar of while the other is a relative novice to the altar of the rumpled raincoat. Yeah, it's cute. It's a good way to do it.
Okay,
that's a nice way. Don't be offended.
I'm not offended.
Even stacked against the tangent-prone "Just One More Thing" podcast, Sean and Steve's discussions are rather freewheeling, and some of what they bring up I've already heard discussed elsewhere.
Yeah.
Ooh. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, as it's still interesting to hear the perspective of two more fans in the Columbo series.
Well, I'm going to say this too, if you don't mind, I'm going to interrupt. I don't listen to any Columbo podcasts, so if we're repeating the same thing that the others do, I apologize. But I honestly, what we're talking about is all original. So there's no influence from another podcast.
Yeah.
How about you? Do you feel like you might be retreading some information?
I don't remember much of what I've heard. Not because I'm drunk while I listen to it or anything like that, but I just, I don't know, I just roll with it and have fun. If what I say has been mentioned in other podcasts, it's fine. I mean,
I try not to. Yeah, I try not to read anything because I am afraid of repeating, retreading the same ground as another before us. So.
Okay. So 5 episodes in, the hosts are still trying to establish a rhythm with mixed results. The Etude in Black discussion, for example, displayed a tad more background in the episode, as well as an attempt at a comedic thread, resulting in a longer podcast than the 4 previous episodes, but not necessarily a better one, since most of the information was things I already knew, and the trivia about composers seemed almost random.
It was. Oh, yeah, no, that was totally me trying to throw you off. Mm. By the way, none of that was true, that trivia. I was making shit up.
So Bach didn't have a huge...
Foot fetish? No, I don't know.
Or a porn collection on DVD? Or
well, yeah, he did have that, okay. Yes.
I enjoyed Sean and Steve's Columbo discussion on their other podcast, and I look forward to their future discussions of episodes on the Columbo Confab.
I like this email because it's telling us where to improve, and okay. I like that.
Well, they gave us 4 out of 5 stars.
Hey, that's good.
Messed up our average, but it may lack the frills of previous Columbo podcasts. Well, I beg to differ. But the host's enthusiasm for the series already makes for a lively and entertaining listen. Okay. Yeah. So then we get to another one, short. This is by J.D. the Butcher. Mm-hmm. It says, I've been listening now to every episode before bed. How can one sleep after listening to it? Maybe is J.D. listening to it to fall asleep?
That's not good. Right?
I've been listening now to every episode before bed. I thought in modern day time I was the only one still into vintage theater. Dude, we have a Doctor Who podcast too. Okay. I do wonder if this is the same JD that does one of the other Columbo podcasts. But
oh, nice.
Yeah.
So which one would that be?
Just One More Thing podcast.
So are they the only other? There's only us and another that currently do podcasts.
Yeah, there's us, the Just One More Thing podcast, and the Columbo. I think it's just the Columbo podcast.
That's the Scottish guys.
Fellows. Yeah.
Okay, I did listen to one of their episodes, and they don't podcast anymore. Is that...
No, they did all the episodes. It's a finite
done,
and now they have other podcasts that they do. So
like
what
Fish
they
and Chips podcast.
Yeah, the Fish and Chips cast. Yes.
The Haggis?
No, they're Scott. Yeah, the Haggis cast. Very good. Jesus Christ. He says as he's drinking scotch. All right, Steve. So it's that time where you get to spin the swinging wheel of the 70s.
Finally. Oh, my gosh. All right, let's go. Let's do it.
Go ahead and spin it.
I'm spinning. I'm spinning it now. I spinned it. It's spent.
And we are going to watch Make Me a Perfect Murder. Sorry, I'm puberty. Make Me a Perfect Murder. A female murderer. How about that?
Make Me a Perfect Murder.
Yep.
Okay.
Starring Trish Van Devore? I can't remember her name exactly. Is a TV executive. So, yeah.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, no, I don't think you have either. So until next time, we talk about Make Me a Perfect Murder, ladies and gentlemen. I invite you to watch more Columbo and have a pleasant good night. Good night, everybody. Say good night, Steve.
Good night, everybody.
Say good night, Steve.
Good night, Steve.
I love Columbo.